So, today I want to talk to you about something I like to call the bar of resentment. It's one of the terms that I created a long, long time ago that needs very little explanation. Like, instantly, you hear the bar of resentment and you get it. And the idea is that we want to make sure that we are operating above that bar of resentment and we're not letting ourselves fall below. But unfortunately, as impatiently ambitious entrepreneurs with busy, full, incredible lives, and that inner critic voice in the back of our head always saying all kind of negative nonsense, I call her Hilda, we are constantly saying yes to things that fall below that bar of resentment. So if you feel like you're operating parts of your life and business that leave you quietly seething underneath, this particular conversation is for you. Because most impatiently ambitious entrepreneurs have a line. They have this invisible boundary where they feel like that's where I want to be. I want to be operating and showing up in a way where I'm not feeling that resentment, and where I feel like my work is compensated, my efforts are compensated, where I feel good about it, or I'm not going from call to call where I'm having these different calls with people who are not actually interested in my work, but they would like to pick my brain, or a client request goes from a quick favor to a massive energy drain, or where pricing is just a big challenge. So let's start there. Let's talk about that bar of resentment. So first of all, pricing is where this comes up the most for the entrepreneurs that we work with. You've heard that phrase, charge what you're worth. You're not going to hear it here because it's so gross. You are not charging based on your self-worth and how amazing you are. That's not how I encourage you to price yourself or price your services. What we are charging for is the service or the experience or the course or the thing in between where you are and your expertise and the client. That's what we're trying to price. That's what we're trying to figure out. But when you're trying to figure out how much should I charge for this thing, I like to bring up this bar of resentment as a really great touchstone or a great like emotional measurement of figuring out where the bottom line is, right? Because we want to make sure that we're pricing our time, our efforts, our services, our products above that bar of resentment, where you feel like, okay, when somebody buys this, it feels like I made a fair wage. I earned what feels good to me. I don't feel like resentful that somebody got that for such a low amount of money. But also, like, we want to be within the window of like, okay, if here's a bar of resentment, up here is, I can sleep at night. I also think that's important. I know that there's a whole lot of incredible pressure in the online community to charge so darn much, and they make it about your worth, right? Charge what you're worth. And but you know what? I'll save that for another day. In that window, though, I think is important, and figuring out, okay, where is that bar of resentment? Where is it that I feel just like I'm not being properly compensated for all that I've put in here? We all know exactly where that actually is. And I also want to normalize that that's a moving target. It kind of shifts as you go. For example, the first time maybe that you're offering a new program, a new mastermind, a new live experience of some sort, I tend to price that pretty reasonable because I know I need people to join that right away so that we can get started. And I recognize it's the first time that I'm doing it. And so I'm going to be putting more time into it, but also I'm good with people feeling like, oh, I got a deal. I got a really great deal on this because I was there at the first time. One of the coolest things about the Jennie Meredyth business is we have found that so many of our clients are kind of like me, where they love to be first. They love to be part of the OGs of that new program. So that bar of resentment is a little lower. But the 12th time that I'm offering that group experience, where I've really worked with Meredyth closely to like hone it, and we've dialed it in, and we feel like, oh my gosh, look at these testimonials, look at how great this thing is. Well, that original price is now below the bar of resentment. It doesn't feel adequate enough for the time and the effort that we've put in all of this time. So that bar of resentment when it comes to pricing is going to shift, but it's one of those things where you can be honest with yourself about like, okay, is this above the bar of resentment, or am I just pricing this out of fear? Am I letting Hilda, that voice in my head, convince me that it needs to be less expensive, cheaper, cheaper, cheaper? So that's one place where this bar of resentment stuff comes in. The other place is time. And let's talk about like your use of time. You, me, and everybody get that same 168 hours a week. And to stay above that bar of resentment when it comes to how we are utilizing our time, we got to be ruthlessly intentional about where we spend those hours, where those hours go. So if you look at your calendar and look at your task list, give it a look and see if you're spending the majority of your week on tasks that leave you quietly angry and frustrated, you're operating below the bar of resentment. You cannot make things happen from that kind of a space. I'm not saying that we don't have stuff on our list of things to do that suck. We all do. I mean, that's one of the weird things about entrepreneurship. I talk to clients all the time about this. They're like, oh, I would love my work so much if I didn't have to market or sell, right? Like, I totally get that. That's part of it too. But just asking yourself to, before you say yes to yet another obligation, to another networking event, to another discovery session, to another pick your brain session, to another fill in the blank of whatever the thing is this a commitment that's actually moving the needle towards where you want to go? Or is it actually just an activity that's weighing you down that you're not looking forward to? I'll be honest, there's quite a few things that I add to my calendar with the best of intentions and often just a little bit of people pleasing energy because I'm like, oh, that would be cool. That sounds great. That would be fun. And then when I get closer to it on the calendar, given my set of priorities, it's kind of below the bar of resentment. I am dreading going to that thing, not because it isn't great. Maybe it's amazing, but it's because it's displacing all of these other things that I really want to do. So we want to also check on that bar of resentment when it comes to the demands on your time. Now, again, we're not looking for perfectionism here, but like, are you most of the time operating below that bar of resentment? One of the things that we love about, for example, our All in All Year program is that that program is all delivered live. And it is well above the bar of resentment for us. But we also need it to be above the bar of resentment for our clients. It needs to be something they're looking forward to. And so we've worked incredibly hard to make sure that those experiences don't feel like Jennie and Meredyth are on their calendar, but that those experiences are built so that it feels like you are on your calendar. And what we hear again and again is that is the experience, which we're very proud of. But more importantly, it's raised their awareness to how much everybody else is on their calendar and how very little, if any, time is actually devoted to their own growth, to their own business, to their own dreams, to their own stuff. And so much of it, everything else is, to family, quite rightly, but clients and all these other external pressures. So just kind of waking yourself up to like, do I have time on my calendar that is about me and about my goals and about what I want to do? Otherwise, I might be drifting below that bar of resentment. And then one more point on the bar of resentment I want to talk about is a little more uncomfortable. I often say this phrase a lot. I totally got this from one of my colleagues. Karen Graves said this once and I stole it. It's so good. Some money is too expensive to take. Some money is too expensive to take. As soon as I say that, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but let me describe it anyway. We've all had those situations where we maybe have let something run its course and then kept going. I had a membership for a long time that was definitely below the bar of resentment, but people loved it. And we were making some money. I mean, we were making dozens of dollars, but we were making some money with it. And so I didn't want to take it away. But then when I did the math of how many hours I spent prepping and delivering this experience, how many hours and how much brain space it was taking up, not to mention all of the time just on the calendar of this thing compared to the number of dollars that were coming in, it was well below the bar of resentment. And then also how frustrating it was that I was spending so much energy trying to keep people engaged. Oh, it's It's one of my biggest frustrations. I know in the online space, this is what we're supposed to do. Keep everybody engaged. Make sure your free Facebook group is well engaged, and make sure your summit event has a Facebook group that's super engaged. And so you spend all this time and energy coming up with nonsense questions just to keep people engaged. And I cannot pay for our air streaming life with engagement, right? Like none of that is exciting to me. So this whole idea of like keeping this membership going, keeping everybody engaged, following up and like bothering people to make sure that they were engaged is way below the bar of resentment. So we have decided to let that go. We do not chase people. It is not our job to chase people. We provide experiences. We remind people of those experiences, but that is it. We're not chasing people down. And that shifted things for me, right? The other thing when I say some money is too expensive to take is when you have a client or a program like the membership had to go. I had to just let it go because as soon as I did, I was no longer resentful of every minute I was spending over there. I was no longer hiding inside of this membership that was making dozens of dollars. I was actually able to say, okay, what do I actually want to do? I personally feel like as a coach, whenever I have a one-on-one client, for example, I want to look forward to their calls. Now, that doesn't mean I jump out of bed like I'm freaking Snow White singing to birds and crap like that. But like, I want to look forward to those calls. And if I have a call on my calendar with somebody who's paying me that feels below the bar of resentment, I'm dreading that phone call. Not only is that not fair to me, because it's not, but even worse, it's really not fair to them. It is awful to take money and say, yes, I'm going to work with this person that I'm dreading talking to. That just is unacceptable to me and feels really crummy. However, this happens all the time. There's so many situations where we're like, oh, well, we said yes to this because, hey, it's money. And some money is just too expensive to take. Sometimes we're just like, nope, that needs to go. So you reserve the right to uncommit to that and say, you know what, just because I said I would do it doesn't mean I want to do it anymore. And I'm going to, redecide and stop operating below that bar of resentment. I think it's incredibly important that whether it's the membership or the one-on-one or whatever services we're talking about, that we're not resentful that we have to keep doing it. So if you have some sort of program that you're like, I have promised that I will do X, Y, and Z every single month, and you are resenting that you have to do it X, Y, and Z every single month, consider this your invitation to figure out how do you shift stuff? How do you make changes? What's got to change in order to move that above the bar of resentment? Because everyone that's investing in that experience deserves to have you show up to it feeling happy and excited to deliver that experience and not resentful of the fact that you have to follow through. That's really, really key. So they deserve it, but equally importantly, you deserve it. You deserve to operate your life and your business above that bar of resentment because that's where you do your best work. That's where you show up as your full self. And that's where you're going to be just so much happier. None of us got into working for ourselves to turn this into the world's shittiest job. And yet, if you're operating below that bar of resentment, you might as well be working for a jerk of a boss. And maybe that jerk is you. So that's my Monday Morning Moxie for you this week. I want you to really pay attention for the next 7 days. How am I? Where am I? When do I feel like I'm drifting below that bar of resentment? And what am I going to do about it? That's what I've got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep making things happen no matter what.